Hey guys, Steve here with Utah Outdoor Adventures. Today is DIY Tuesday, and instead of doing something new, I guess, for my channel, I'm going to go back to a trip I took in August of 2014. I kind of went over my fishing setup and a few fishing hacks that I used to prevent hooks from catching on upholstery and that kind of thing. I also mention it in an upcoming video that I'm going to release in about a week. But for now, I just wanted to kind of recap, talk about some of my fishing techniques. We're talking about trout fishing mostly, although I do touch on catfishing. My kids are knocking on my bedroom door. Of course they are. I just started filming. So I'm not gonna expound on that too much. I'm just gonna let the video be what it is. This is from August of last year, like I said. Hope you enjoy it. This is a few fishing hacks from yours truly and my fishing setup that I typically use that I've found to be fairly successful for catching trout at least. So we're talking bait fishing. I'm not a big lure fisher, slowly getting into catfishing, that kind of thing. That's my chair. See? It's not my stomach or something worse. So anyway, here it is, my fishing tips for DIY Tuesday. Ways that you can improve your fishing experience if you're a fisherman. If not, maybe it'll just be interesting to you. I don't know. So here you go. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so getting ready to go fishing. Here's kind of my typical layout. I'm definitely going to untangle this mess and get it organized. I usually do that before I even come up, but I didn't get the chance because we had to, we left kind of in a hurry. So here are Dylan and Jude's poles. Yes, that's a princess pole. I would not knock these little kiddie poles. They're about 12 bucks at Walmart, but I've caught some really good fish on them. I actually prefer them because they're not so long and bulky and they cast really well when they don't look tangled up like this joke that I have going on. But we'll fix that soon enough. Anyway, I typically don't use these floats. My wife bought those. I think we were worm fishing and I don't do that often. I'm getting into it a little more. I have a couple of lures in there. I do that once in a while. I have one on the end of this pole right here. Depends on what the fish are doing. If they're going after the bait, then that's what I use. If not, then I break out the lures as a second resort, as a last resort. Looks like I've got one out of place here. Anyway, these are my main, the main thing I usually turn to. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but these are number 16 floating treble hooks for cheese bait, for trout or whatnot. I use it for trout. They used to make 18s, but I haven't been able to buy them, and the 18s are great because they actually float much better in the water, and I'll show you why when I show you my setup, why they need to float, why it's important. And I've got worm hooks down in here, all kinds of different sinkers. There used to be a lot more in here, but I've been using it repeatedly and not restocking it. That's just hand sanitizer right there. I'll show you what these little pink containers are for in a minute too. That's one of my little fishing life hacks I came up with. Here are the baits I'll be using. They're all power bait. We have extra scent glitter power bait white. Let's see. Same here, pink, orange, extra scent on all three of these. And then these two are Powerball Turbo power bait, not Powerball. Thinking about the lottery, I guess. Turbo, it's 42% stronger and much faster. You notice they're in the lead. Anyway, I don't know why it's turbo. That's kind of a dumb name for something that doesn't move. Anyway. Scissors. I do not have my needle nose pliers, which are very important, but I have a pair of regular pliers in the trailer that I'll be taking, and of course my net. Here are my two stringers. This is the one I prefer. I bought this one just last year and it's great. It's a lot longer than these cheap chain type, and also a lot less tangling, and the fish are further apart, so they don't get all jumbled together when they're sitting in the water waiting to be eaten. And that's about it for now. I'm going to clean these poles up and set them up, and then I'll explain my setup so that you can see why I have what I have and why I do what I do. Okay, so this pole is a very big, heavy one, which usually isn't used for catching these little trout that are up here. I don't think they get more than 12-15 inches, which is pretty good. You can eat them. These are typically the kind of poles that I use for that. This one is Murphy's pole, and I decided to bring it up and fish with it this time. I've never fished with it, and I've always wanted to. It casts really well, but it's a heavier pole. Probably good for catfishing and that kind of thing, but we'll see how it goes. But here's my typical setup. What I do is I put an egg sinker on first, a nice heavy one that'll get it out there into the water, and it needs to be able to move, and then these split shots are here to hold it from sliding down further down the line to where the hook is. And the reason why is this will sink down to the bottom, and when the fish comes to test the hook, test the cheese on the hook, when he pulls, this gives and moves. There's a little bit of weight to it, but not enough to make him think that it's not safe to take. So if that makes sense to you, that's how I set it up. Now, what I usually do is just put enough cheese on the hook to cover it. So I'm doing this one-handed because I'm just that good, I guess. Now this is floating cheese and a floating hook. So what will happen is I will throw this out there, this will sink down, and this will have movement. This will float back up. So it's sitting on the bottom of the lake, and this is sitting up here like this, floating in the lake, bobbing in the water. And the fish will come along and test it. Now, because these hooks are smaller, they tend to swallow them whole. So there's typically not much chance of a catch and release. It doesn't just hook them in the mouth like you see on TV. If it is too small, I just cut the line and let them go the way they are. In theory, they should be able to get the hook out, but I don't believe that. Anyway, so that one's set up, and that's how I'm going to set the other ones up, so we can just show up at the lake and throw it in. And that's about all there is to it. We'll see how today goes. One thing I forgot to mention before I head up there is these are little empty paint containers from the dollar store, and I've emptied the paint out of them. That's why they have the hue that they have. Okay, just a minute. And then I'll typically, especially when there's not bait on the hook, I will take this and put it inside and close it off, snap it shut. Now when it's in my car or near clothes or whatnot, it's not going to hook on anything. And trust me, if you're anything like me, you've probably hooked your car seats several times. Maybe you just latch the hook on here, and while you're driving or something, it comes loose, and you get home and you've got a fish hook stuck in your car seats. So this is just a little something I came up with to prevent that. Not only that, but with the little kids around, it keeps them from getting stuck by the hook as well. So that's what those are for. One more thing I forgot to mention, the fishing line I'm using is 8 to 10 pound test, this monofilament stuff, typical fishing line, because these fish up here in the Uintas and these high elevation cold mountain lakes don't get very big. So I did go catfishing last week with my father-in-law, and this is his setup for that, and it's similar to mine, slightly different, but the same idea. We've got a big egg sinker, a heavy one, with a kind of a swivel. He's got it tied off in two parts, one here and one here. That allows this to move freely, and this is all the weight you need. You could use the same idea with this trout setup I have easily, and I might switch to that. The hook is a huge treble hook and it sinks. This is to hold chicken liver or whatever else you want to fish with to catch catfish. And he caught 2 pretty good sized ones and gave them to me, which I devoured. They were awesome. Not right there on the beach. Obviously I took them home and ate them, but anyway, I mean fried them. So I'm going to take this off and switch it to my trout setup. But he's taught me a lot. He's from, he was living in Tennessee and just recently moved here to Utah, so he knows a lot about catfishing. We went fishing in the middle of the night and had a lot of fun. A lot of bugs, but a lot of fun. Anyway, that's his setup, and I'm probably going to copy it in the future, but for now I'm going to switch this to my usual trout setup. And I guess that's about it. So also he switched my line out from that monofilament 8 to 10 pound test to this fibrous 50 pound test line, which also helps the line get out there further, but it's much stronger for larger fish like a catfish. He explained to me that it was created when they were actually designing flak jackets for the military, I believe. And they found that this material works really well as a fishing line and as sewing material for flak jackets. So there you go, that's 50 pound test on there, and that's what Joanna will be using today. The kids just have the monofilament 8 to 10 pound test on their kiddie poles. So, okay, I'm finally done talking about that. Let's go fishing.